So you're in your 30s or 40s, you're peaking physically and financially, you feel great, life is great, until shit hits the fan. And you realize that life is not a contract where you can sit down and negotiate the terms. In this video, I want to talk about the illusion of control and what life-changing decisions and choices you can make today in order to get yourself a big peace of mind. So you have it all dialed in, your career, your relationship, your diet, you work out consistently. As I said, like you have a life going for yourself. And through this, you've developed this understanding, or a good portion of pride, I want to call it. And I believe that you are in control of the outcome you create. A little bit similar to what I described in one of my last videos, where I made this correlation between input and output. Whatever you put in correlates with your output, and that can also create a misbelief that we are in control of the outcome itself. Example, like when you live in the US, nowadays you have a lifespan between 70 and 80 years. And even though it's difficult to measure, but statistically you have a 90% chance, not 90% chance of getting into an accident that changes your life, like a life-changing accident, nothing minor, but something serious throughout this lifespan. And that shows the risk that you're exposed to and that you're actually not so much in control that you would like to believe. And if it's not you, then it is your family members or your friends or someone you know that will be affected, that then in return eventually also impacts you. To give you an example, you could get into an accident while driving with your family. Hopefully that will never happen, but that is what could happen. Additionally, you could develop a medical condition that renders you not fit for the professional path that you're on. So you will be facing financial challenges besides the physical impact that all that makes. So you see that unsinkable ship that you thought yourself of just hit the iceberg, and the pride turns into powerlessness, and you all of a sudden feel tiny, and all of a sudden life has humbled you. And then you see yourself, and again, hopefully that never happens, but it is likely that something like that will happen. You find yourself, in the worst case scenario, laying on the bed in one of those sleepless nights, your mind looping, and you come to the realization that the only thing that is left, that is truly left, and that cannot be taken away, is yourself. Or more specifically, the integrity within yourself, your values and your beliefs that you have built and that you can shape the way you want them to be. So we give ourselves credit for all those achievements, we hear people say, oh, I made this, it's me. It's like, it's very self-centered. And there is a part truth to it, of course, like you can build a company, you can build a house, you can do all those things. But in reality, if you zoom out far enough, you realize that none of that has been built by you. You did not build the city that you're in, you did not build the system that you're embedded in. All of that has been given to you. And most critical of all, the life that you live, the body that you have, the mind you have, has been given to you. It is nothing that you created, and it will be taken away from you when the time comes. That is something that we shy away from and don't really want to see. And yeah, we go through life with a lack of appreciation for the things that we receive, with a lack of humility, with a lack of foresight that all of those things that we see around us, including ourselves, will crumble at some point in our lives. And instead we choose ignorance And we choose to rely on our inflated egos that we have built through our lifetimes. So, in all clarity, no, we're not in control of any outcome that we would like to see. If nature, if chance, if fortune, however you want to call it, God, the universe, decides to take away what they want to take away, they will take it away. And no level of anger, frustration, no level of depression, insanity, whatever emotional trigger might, burst out, will change the reality on the ground. But there is still a very significant choice to be made, no matter how horrible the scenario might be. And that is the question whether you decide to accept reality or you reject reality. Reality doesn't change, but the way you deal with it and the life afterwards will change. So if you reject reality, if you decide not to accept it, you basically trap yourself in a loop of rejection. You create hell on earth, is what I truly believe. Because the events will, it will repeat itself. The experience, you will run through it again and again. It's like literally like touching a hot oven stove again and again and again instead of moving on. And that is what accepting reality gets you. It doesn't change the events on the ground, as I said, but it at least grant yourself the ability, the opportunity to move on with your life. The big question that arises is, why do we wait so long until fortune turns its back on us? Just as we know that winter follows autumn, and just as we objectively know that we and our loved ones at some day will get sick, at some day will die and leave us, we can just prepare for it, and we can prepare for it today. We don't have to wait, until those events hit us by surprise. The question is, how do we prepare? Let me explain. The only thing that can't be taken away from us is our integrity. No matter what the circumstances are, the integrity is a part of us and can never be taken away from no one. So it's the values that determine our actions. And why invest in anything else other than integrity if we know that integrity cannot be taken away, but other things could be taken away from us? So humility, kindness, modesty, what else do we have? Justice, sincerity. There are many, right? Many values. You can pick the ones that you want to shape and that you want to make an integral part of your life. But what higher investment could there potentially be than the investment into the cultivation of our own character? Because if you look at it this way, this character is basically the soil that you plant your seeds into. And the more fruitful and nutritious and healthy that soil is, the more healthy, fruitful, nutritious will be the harvest at some point. So literally any form of greatness is rooted in those virtues, rooted in those values that you can, at no cost, just by yourself, without any external input, cultivate yourself. And I understand, I get you. You might think, okay, this is a super romanticized, idealized version of humanity. This is not realistic, especially in nowadays, highly competitive environment. There's no way that you can live this kind of life. But I think that is not true. We're just misguided, because if you look at it, why are there some people that have little to nothing, but they are full of appreciation and full of life and live very rich lives, maybe not monetarily rich, but fulfilled rich lives. And then you have, on the flip side, other people who have seemingly everything, but they walk around angry. They're constantly chasing. They want more. They're afraid of losing the stuff that they have accumulated. They're bitter, they're salty, you know. Why is that? And the reason is because integrity does not depend on any external factors. It is something that you cultivate within you. So, example, if you go back in time, back to the Holocaust, you could witness stories of Holocaust survivors being in those camps, giving the last piece of bread to someone who is even more in need. And why would you do that? That has nothing to do with, like reasoning in the sense of logic. It is because you stick to your integrity. It is because you value this integrity and the values inside you higher than your own need, for example. Or we had one of the greatest leaders in human history, Marcus Aurelius, who had all the power in the world. He could have done whatever he wanted to, but he decided to be a just and fair leader and not abuse and misuse his power. And why is that? The question, again, it goes back to integrity. So it is a choice you make every single day, and sooner or later in life, life will humble us. So my concluding question, or my closing question for you is, what decision, what choice will you make when you wake up tomorrow?